High Architect Vexterra adjusted her crystalline sensory arrays as she gazed out over the grand exhibition hall of New Alexandria Station. For 10,000 cycles, the Galactic Design Academy had stood as the undisputed authority on spacecraft engineering. Their principles, refined across millennia, had guided hundreds of species to the stars. Today should have been no different. Just another routine evaluation of an emerging species' crude first attempts at starship design. The humans had arrived 3 standard hours ago in what they called the Persistence. Vexterra still couldn't believe they'd actually flown the thing through interstellar space. The vessel looked like it had been assembled from industrial waste, all sharp angles and exposed structural elements. Its hull was a patchwork of different materials, some sections actually welded together with primitive thermal bonding. Most shocking of all, it ran on chemical propulsion assisted by crude nuclear fission, technology that had been obsolete for thousands of years. This is what they sent to represent their species. Senior designer Kralfax chittered, his iridescent carapace reflecting the exhibition hall's lights. I've seen more sophisticated designs in historical archives from pre-spaceflight civilizations. Vexterra mandibles clicked in agreement. The Academy's own ships were works of art, organic crystalline structures grown in zero gravity, powered by quantum singularities, guided by artificial intelligences so advanced they bordered on consciousness. Next to them, the human vessel looked like a child's construction toy. The human delegation approached, led by their chief engineer Sarah Chen. She walked with the characteristic swagger of her species, seemingly oblivious to the disdainful glances from the gathered Academy officials. The humans' environmental suits were just as crude as their ship, rigid constructions of metal and plastic rather than the standard photonic weave used by civilized species. "Welcome to New Alexandria," Vexterra announced, her translator converting her harmonic speech into human standard English. "I trust your journey was sustainable." Sarah Chen smiled, an expression Vexterra had learned meant either pleasure or aggression in humans. The Persistence performed beautifully. 0 malfunctions, unless you count the coffee maker in the galley. Several Academy members exchanged worried glances. They actually had organic sustenance processors on their bridge. "We've reviewed your preliminary designs," Vexterra continued. "I must be direct. They fall well below Academy standards for safe interstellar travel. Your propulsion systems alone violate 13 different safety protocols." "But they work," Chen replied, that unsettling smile still in place. "We've logged over 50 successful jumps." "Success through luck is not success through proper engineering," Kralfax interrupted. "Your entire approach to faster-than-light travel is fundamentally flawed. You're literally tearing holes in space-time rather than utilizing proven quantum tunneling methods." Chen shrugged, another peculiarly human gesture. "Sometimes you have to break a few eggs to make an omelette." The idiom didn't translate well, causing several Academy members' universal translators to glitch momentarily. Vexterra raised a primary appendage for silence. Perhaps a practical demonstration is in order. The Academy's newest vessel, the Harmony of Spheres, is preparing for its certification trials. We invite your Persistence to observe. It may help you understand proper starship design principles. "Happy to watch," Chen replied. "But why don't we make it interesting? The Persistence versus your Harmony in a series of trials, unless you're worried about being embarrassed by our primitive technology." The exhibition hall fell silent. In 10,000 cycles, no one had dared challenge the Academy to a direct competition. The sheer audacity of it was almost incomprehensible. Vexterra's sensor arrays flickered in amusement. "You cannot be serious. The Harmony of Spheres represents the pinnacle of galactic engineering. Its quantum drive alone took 50 years to grow." "Grow?" Chen raised an eyebrow. "You grow your engines." "Of course. All proper star drives are grown from zero-point crystal matrices in quantum gardens. Surely you don't still manufacture your components." "We sure do. In fact, we printed half the Persistence's engine parts on board during the journey here." Chen gestured toward their ship. So what do you say? A friendly competition between different engineering philosophies, unless the Academy is afraid to put its principles to the test. Vexterra felt her crystalline structures vibrating with indignation. The human had maneuvered her into a corner with surprising skill. To refuse would make the Academy appear weak. To accept meant legitimizing their crude approach to engineering. Very well, she finally declared. 3 trials: navigation, combat, and emergency response. The Academy will demonstrate once and for all the superiority of proper engineering principles. Excellent. Chen extended her hand, another human gesture Vexterra had been briefed on. May the best ship win. As she reluctantly touched appendages with the human, Vexterra noticed something troubling. Chen's smile had changed subtly, and her biological readings indicated rising levels of excitement rather than the fear or uncertainty any rational being should feel when challenging the Academy. For the first time in her long career, Vexterra felt a flicker of doubt. What did these humans know that she didn't? Word spread quickly through New Alexandria Station. The quantum communication networks buzzed with news of the upcoming competition. Within hours, representatives from dozens of spacefaring civilizations had arrived to witness what many were calling the most interesting event in galactic engineering in centuries. Sarah Chen stood in the Persistence's engine room, hands on her hips, studying holographic readouts while her crew made final adjustments. The ship's reactor hummed with a distinctive rhythm that traditional engineers found unsettling, but she'd always found comforting. Like a heartbeat, if hearts ran on controlled nuclear fusion. They're setting up the course now, her XO, James Rodriguez, reported as he floated through the access hatch. In the Persistence's variable gravity environment, the crew preferred to move in 3 dimensions, another design choice the Academy had criticized. You should see their faces when we told them we wanted to participate in course setup. You'd think we'd suggested painting graffiti on their precious quantum crystals. Let them underestimate us, Sarah replied, making a minute adjustment to the fusion containment field. That's been humanity's advantage since we first reached the stars. Nobody expects much from the species that still thinks duct tape is a valid repair material. To be fair, the amount of duct tape currently holding our secondary coolant system together would probably give them heart attacks. Assuming they have hearts. Sarah grinned. The best part is, they're so focused on our primitive technology, they haven't even asked about the important stuff. Like why we named her Persistence. Through the viewport, they could see the harmony of spheres being prepared for the trials. The alien vessel was beautiful, Sarah had to admit. Its crystalline hull seemed to flow like liquid metal, organic curves and patterns shifting in response to subtle quantum fluctuations. It made the Persistence, with her angular hull and exposed radiators, look like something assembled in a junkyard. But beauty wasn't the point. The point was survival. The first challenge would test navigation capabilities. The Academy had designed a course through an artificial asteroid field, requiring precise maneuvering at relativistic speeds. Their quantum computers could calculate optimal paths with perfect accuracy. The Persistence relied on what the Academy dismissively called human intuition. Actual pilots making actual decisions in real time. They've cleared the course for preliminary testing, Rodriguez reported. The Harmony just ran it. Finished in 18.3 standard minutes with 0 deviations from calculated optimal path. Perfect, Sarah said. Absolutely perfect. And that's exactly why we're going to win. Care to explain that logic to someone who didn't graduate top of this class at MIT? Sarah walked to the engine room's main viewport, watching Academy technicians making final adjustments to their course markers. Look at how they approach every problem. Perfect calculations, perfect execution, perfect prediction of every variable. Their entire civilization is built on the idea that if you can achieve perfection, you should. And that's bad because the universe isn't perfect. It's messy, chaotic, unpredictable. You know why human ships still have manual controls. Why we still train pilots to fly by sight and instinct. Because sometimes the perfect solution isn't the right solution. She turned back to her readouts, making one final adjustment. They've spent 10,000 years learning to remove the human element from their engineering. We've spent our time learning to enhance it. The ship's intercom crackled. Chief engineer to the bridge. Academy officials are ready to begin formal trials. Sarah took one last look at her engine room, the hybrid fusion-fission reactor that the Academy called unstable, the manual backup systems they called redundant, the structural reinforcement they called excessive, everything that made a human ship human. Time to show them what imperfection can do, she said, heading for the bridge. Rodriguez, power up what we discussed. But keep it subtle. We want them watching our engine readings, not our hull composition. As she made her way through the ship's corridors, Sarah thought about all the other human vessels out there among the stars, each one carrying the same principles that had guided human engineering since the first time someone looked at a problem and said, I can fix that. Not with quantum crystals or artificial intelligences, but with human ingenuity, determination, and that peculiar human talent for turning disadvantages into advantages. The Academy was about to learn why humanity had survived every challenge their harsh homeworld had thrown at them. They were about to learn why, sometimes, the crude solution was the right solution. But most importantly, they were about to learn why this ship was called Persistence. Because humans, more than any other species in the galaxy, knew how to persist, how to adapt, how to overcome. And sometimes, that was worth more than all the quantum computers in the universe. Engineering to bridge, she called as she strapped into her station. All systems nominal, ready to show them what human engineering can do. The artificial asteroid field shimmered against the backdrop of New Alexandria's triple suns. Each asteroid was actually a sophisticated sensor platform, designed to record every aspect of the competing vessel's performance. The Academy had spared no expense in ensuring their expected triumph would be thoroughly documented. Course is hot, Rodriguez announced from the pilot's station, harmony of spheres completing their final approach. Sarah watched from the Persistence's bridge as the crystalline vessel took its starting position. The Academy ship's hull rippled with quantum patterns, its structure already calculating optimal trajectories through the asteroid field. They weren't just running simulations. The ship's very structure was a computer, each crystalline facet processing variables in perfect harmony. Their quantum core is spinning up, reported Dr. Lisa Wong, their sensors officer. Energy readings are, well, they're showing off now. They're channeling enough power to light up a small star. Let them show off, Sarah replied, running a final check on their own systems. The Persistence's reactor was humming steadily, its output a fraction of their competitors but stable. Reliable. How many spectators? Over 3,000 ships in observation positions, Rodriguez said. Looks like half the galaxy showed up to watch us embarrass ourselves. Sarah smiled. Then let's give them a show they'll never forget. All stations ready for Trial 1. The countdown began. On the Academy's command channel, High Architect Vexterra's harmonious voice announced the rules. Navigation trial commencing. Vessels will traverse the marked course at not less than 0.3 light speed. Contact with course markers will result in automatic disqualification. Harmony of spheres. You may proceed when ready. The crystalline ship moved with liquid grace. It accelerated smoothly, its quantum drives barely disturbing the space around it as it achieved relativistic velocity. Its path through the asteroid field was perfect. Each turn precisely calculated, each movement efficiently executed. The gathered audience transmitted waves of appreciation through the quantum network. Time to completion, 18.2 standard minutes, Vexterra announced. 0 deviations from optimal path, 0 energy wastage. Her tone carried unmistakable smugness. Persistence, your attempt may begin when ready. Do try to avoid damaging our course markers. Sarah keyed the ship-wide comm. All hands, secure for acceleration. Rodriguez, show them what we can do. The Persistence's engines roared to life, an actual physical roar that made the Academy observers recoil in horror. The ship accelerated with what seemed like reckless speed, its hull shuddering as it approached light speed. "First cluster approaching," Rodriguez called out. "Engaging primary thrusters." What happened next caused several Academy observers to crash their sensor systems in disbelief. Instead of following the calculated optimal path, the Persistence shot straight toward a cluster of asteroids. At the last possible moment, Rodriguez fired their maneuvering thrusters, actual chemical thrusters, spitting superheated plasma, and the ship spun through a gap barely wider than its hull. "What are they doing?" Vexterra's shocked voice came through the command channel. "That gap wasn't designated as a valid route. You said reach the end without hitting anything." Sarah replied calmly as Rodriguez executed another impossible turn. "You never specified the path." The Persistence danced through the asteroid field like a leaf in a hurricane. Unpredictable, erratic, but somehow always exactly where it needed to be. Rodriguez wasn't following any calculated course. He was flying by instinct, reading the field in real time, making split-second decisions that no quantum computer would ever consider valid. 7 minutes to completion, Wong reported. "We're actually doing it." "Of course we are," Sarah replied, watching their hull temperature readings climb. "Humanity didn't get to the stars by following the expected path." Rodriguez, ready for the final. "Oh hell yes," the pilot grinned, his hands dancing over the manual controls. The Persistence approached the final stretch, a dense cluster of asteroids that the Harmony had navigated with precise, calculated movements. Instead of following suit, Rodriguez fired their main engine in a burst that the Academy sensors probably registered as a catastrophic malfunction. The ship shot forward, faster than any vessel should safely travel in an asteroid field. Then, just as the observers were certain they were about to witness a disaster, Rodriguez engaged their secret weapon. The Persistence's hull shimmered, not with quantum calculations, but with something far more interesting. Something the Academy had been too focused on their primitive technology to notice. "Metamaterial cloaking engaged," Wong announced. 15% of asteroids are now passing straight through our hull." The assembled observers watched in shock as the Persistence seemed to phase through solid matter, its hull becoming selectively immaterial thanks to the metamaterial mesh Sarah's team had woven into its structure. Not quantum computing, not crystal matrices, but good old-fashioned human material science. "Time to completion, 11.4 minutes, Vexterra announced, her harmonic voice crackling with disbelief. "Through a completely invalid route using human ingenuity," Sarah finished for her. "Now shall we proceed to trial 2? I believe you wanted to test our combat capabilities next." As the observation ships erupted in a chaos of transmissions, Sarah looked at her crew's grinning faces. The Academy had expected them to try to beat them at their own game. Instead, humanity had done what it did best, changed the rules entirely. And they were just getting started. The combat trial arena sprawled across a vast section of space near New Alexandria Station. Automated drones and sensor platforms floated at strategic intervals, ready to measure weapon accuracy, shield strength, and tactical effectiveness. The Academy had designed the trial to showcase the pinnacle of civilized combat technology, precise quantum weaponry, and predictive defense systems. "They're still analyzing our metamaterial hull," Wong reported from her sensor station, "running every scan they can think of. They really hate not understanding how something works." Sarah nodded, watching the harmony of spheres prepare for its combat demonstration. The crystalline vessel's weapons were elegant, quantum beams that could slice through conventional shields with surgical precision. Their defensive systems were equally sophisticated, creating localized pockets of altered spacetime to deflect incoming fire. "All hands, combat stations," Sarah ordered. Time to show them another human surprise. The Harmony's demonstration was, predictably, flawless. Their quantum weapons carved through target drones with microscopic precision. Their defensive fields redirected incoming fire with mathematical perfection. Each movement was calculated to maximize efficiency while minimizing energy expenditure. Time to completion: 15.7 minutes. Vexterra announced. Perfect accuracy rating. 0 shield penetrations. She paused. Persistence, your attempt may begin. Please try not to damage the actual sensor platforms along with the target drones. Sarah keyed the ship-wide comm. All hands, ready for combat maneuvers. Rodriguez, tactical pattern Sierra 7. Wong, weapons free on my mark. The Persistence moved into position, its conventional engines flaring bright against the starfield. The Academy observers watched, presumably expecting another display of crude human technology. Target drones approaching. Rodriguez reported. First wave in range. Weapons free. Sarah commanded. Show them what we brought to play with. The Persistence's weapon ports opened, but instead of energy beams or conventional missiles, they released a cloud of what appeared to be metallic dust. The Academy observers' confusion was practically visible in their quantum transmissions. Are they deploying some kind of visual countermeasure? Vexterra's voice carried tones of dismissal. Surely they don't expect. Her transmission cut off as the dust cloud suddenly came alive. Thousands of microscopic robots, each one carrying a tiny but potent antimatter charge, swarmed toward the target drones. The nanobots moved with collective intelligence, adapting their attack patterns in real time based on the drone's defensive maneuvers. Nanoswarm performing at 98% efficiency, Wong reported with satisfaction. Targeting systems fully autonomous. The Academy observers watched in stunned silence as the nanoswarm tore through the target drones. Not with surgical precision, but with overwhelming adaptive force. Each tiny robot learned from the others, adjusting their tactics moment by moment. It wasn't elegant. It wasn't precise. It was devastatingly effective. Second wave approaching. Rodriguez called out. Ready for the real show. Sarah smiled. Light 'em up. The Persistence's main weapon powered up. Not a quantum beam or energy projector, but something far more interesting. The Academy sensors probably registered it as some kind of primitive projectile weapon. They were half right. RASER cannon hot, Wong announced. Target locked. The RASER. Relativistic antimatter stream emission response. Weapon fired. A stream of accelerated antimatter particles, contained within a magnetic bottle and accelerated to near-light speed, streaked across space. When it hit the target drones, the results were spectacular. The antimatter stream didn't just destroy the targets. It created a cascade of reactions that turned the very space around them into a weapon. By the first engineers, Vexterra's transmission crackled. They're weaponizing spatial distortion itself. That's human engineering. Sarah finished. We don't just solve problems. We turn them into advantages. The combat trial continued, but it was already clear that the Academy's perfect quantum calculations were no match for human adaptability. The Persistence's nanoswarm and RASER weapon didn't just destroy targets. They changed the battlefield itself, creating zones of distorted space that their metamaterial hull could navigate but conventional shields couldn't handle. Time to completion. 12.3 minutes, Vexterra announced, her harmonic voice carrying unmistakable shock. But these weapons, they violate dozens of Academy safety protocols. The spatial distortions alone are completely containable, Sarah interrupted, by human technology that you dismissed as primitive. Maybe it's time to reconsider what primitive really means. A new alert suddenly blared across all channels. The Academy's quantum networks were detecting something massive emerging from hyperspace, something that wasn't supposed to be part of the trials. Multiple hostile signatures detected, Wong reported, her voice tense. Energy readings off the charts. These aren't Academy ships. Sarah's eyes narrowed as she studied the sensor readings. Well, looks like we're about to get an unscheduled third trial. Battle stations, everyone. Let's show the galaxy what happens when you push humanity into a real fight. The intruders emerged from hyperspace, sleek, predatory vessels of unknown design. Their weapons were already charged, their intentions clear. The Academy's perfect testing ground was about to become a perfect target, and the only thing standing between them and New Alexandria Station was a human ship that nobody had believed in, until now. The unknown vessels struck without warning or declaration. Their weapons, some kind of plasma-based energy projectors, lashed out at New Alexandria Station. The Academy's quantum shields flared brilliantly, but began destabilizing under the assault. 7 hostile vessels, Wong reported. Energy signatures suggest they're using stolen and modified Academy technology. They know exactly how to target quantum defense systems. Sarah watched as the harmony of spheres moved to engage, its crystalline hull flowing into combat configuration. The Academy vessel's quantum weapons were powerful, precise, and completely ineffective against enemies who had clearly studied their every weakness. "This is what happens when you perfect a single approach," Sarah muttered. "You become predictable." Rodriguez, battle stations. Time to show them something they've never seen before. "The Academy is ordering all vessels to withdraw to safe distance," Wong announced. "They're saying our primitive systems won't survive this level of combat." Sarah's response was to key the ship-wide comm. "All hands, this is the chief. Everything we've shown them so far." That was us being polite. Now we show them why humanity survived every catastrophe our world could throw at us. Now we show them why we called this ship Persistence. The Persistence's engines roared to life, drawing shocked comments from the Academy observers who still hadn't evacuated. The ship charged straight toward the attacking vessels, its hull shimming as multiple systems engaged simultaneously. "Nanoswarm deploying," Wong called out. "Ray SER charging. Metamaterial grid at full power. Engineering reports ready for full emergence," Rodriguez added with a grin. "What are they doing?" Vexterra's transmission cut through the chaos. "Their ship can't possibly." The Persistence's hull suddenly transformed. The metamaterial grid didn't just shift to selective immateriality. It began actively rewriting its molecular structure. Plates shifted, weapons ports reconfigured, and entirely new systems emerged from previously hidden configurations. "Full emergence complete," Sarah announced to the stunned observers. "This is what human engineering really looks like. We don't just build ships. We build ships that can evolve." The Persistence had transformed into something the Academy sensors probably couldn't even categorize. Its hull was now a dynamic system, constantly adapting its structure at the molecular level. The nanoswarm integrated directly with the ship's metamaterial grid, creating a defensive screen that could learn from every attack. The hostile vessels fired again. Their plasma weapons splashed harmlessly across the Persistence's adaptive hull. The energy wasn't deflected or absorbed. It was redirected, channeled through the ship's metamaterial structure, and fed directly into the RASER system. "Return fire," Sarah ordered. "Show them what happens when you give humans a reason to stop holding back." The RASER fired, but this time it wasn't just an antimatter stream. The weapon had integrated the stolen plasma energy, creating a hybrid beam that cut through the enemy's shields like they didn't exist. 2 hostile ships vanished in expanding clouds of plasma and quantum distortions. "They're trying to retreat," Wong reported. "Their engines are spooling up for emergency jump." "Oh no," Sarah said quietly. "You don't get to run after threatening this station." She keyed a specific command sequence. "Initiating final protocol. All hands, brace for reality distortion." The Persistence's hull shifted one final time, revealing its ultimate secret. The entire ship was effectively one giant metamaterial computer, capable of rewriting the local laws of physics themselves. The fleeing vessels suddenly found themselves trapped in a bubble of distorted spacetime, where their engines couldn't generate enough power to achieve faster-than-light travel. The battle ended in minutes. The hostile ships, trapped and outmaneuvered, were disabled one by weapons they couldn't predict or counter. The Academy observers watched in stunned silence as a single primitive human vessel accomplished what their quantum technology could not. Hours later, Sarah stood in the Grand Exhibition Hall again, facing High Architect Vextara and the Academy Council. "Your ship," Vextara said slowly, "it's not just a vessel. It's human ingenuity given form," Sarah completed. "We knew we couldn't match your quantum technology. So we did what humans always do. We found another way. The persistence isn't perfect. It's adaptable. It doesn't calculate optimal solutions because sometimes optimal isn't what you need. Sometimes you need something that can think differently, act differently, become something new when the situation demands it." The Academy Council conferred briefly through their quantum network. When Vextara spoke again, her harmonic voice carried tones of respect that hadn't been there before. "The Academy has existed for 10,000 cycles," she said. "In all that time, we sought perfection. Today, you showed us something more valuable. The power of imperfection, of adaptation, of persistent evolution." She paused. "We would request human assistance in reviewing our engineering principles." Sarah smiled. "Happy to help. But first, you should probably know. The Persistence isn't our most advanced ship. It's just the one we felt comfortable showing you first." The Academy observers' crystalline sensors flickered in shock as Sarah walked away, leaving them to contemplate just what humanity had been quietly doing out there among the stars, all the while letting everyone think they were playing catch-up with primitive technology. Sometimes, she reflected, the best way to advance wasn't to pursue perfection. It was to embrace the beautiful unpredictability of human innovation. And humanity was just getting started.